Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That is honoring the divine light. In nomine de nostre Satanas Luciferi excelsi. I honor the dark divine.
I love that. That gets me chills when that's said like that. It's great, so great to be back on a great conversation, my man.
That it is.
You know, the last time we talked like this, we had planned to talk about things in the occult and things in magic, but
we got a little sidetracked.
Getting sidetracked. This one was on me, and I got really inspired while I was on these plans to ask you more in-depth questions about your psychedelic experiences.
And me, I love to describe those experiences.
Those psychedelic experiences.
Because nobody asks me that,
And I've researched them a lot recently. I'm getting really into asking, not asking. Sometimes if I'm lucky enough to somebody bring it up, but looking up people's trip reports.
Yeah.
And listen to them on YouTube.
I was listening to some psych substance trip reports. I love when you read those trip reports.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. But anyway, dude, I kind of go, from one thing to the next as far as what I'm like studying. And the past couple weeks, I got really inspired by different things I've never read by Crowley, and a lot of these ancient practices like the Templars and what LeVay talks about, and how important this is. By the way, this kava ceremony has kind of done that thing to my ears again, where I feel like distant and like kind of hot.
Yeah.
So if I'm acting too out there, I'm very sorry, because I'm having revelations.
Start speaking in tongue.
No, seriously, man. Not to get too.
I'm right there with you, brother.
I'm glad, brother, man. It's strange how they just completely up your interest in these things.
They do.
But man, you've told me about this, but not to do like a questionnaire or anything, but what would you say would be the most reason that I got to do to the occult and magic in the first place?
Excellent question. We take a quick sip and I'll get to that. We're going to get us some mics at some point.
Yeah.
But
I'm just waiting for him to buy us some.
Maybe someday. All right, man. But what guided my interest into the occult? I'm trying to give too lengthy of an answer here.
Yeah.
From a young age, I was fascinated by certain symbols. I was fascinated with mystery. I was fascinated with the idea that what the masses perceive as reality is actually not reality, and that there's something much deeper going on. But my initial interest was like in things like being like 12 and hearing about the Illuminati, hearing about these hidden symbols in Disney films,
making us look deeper into things.
Right, exactly.
That's actually there.
And I think that interest was a kind of a microcosmic or a microcosm for this bigger thing that I would later grow into.
Bit of an introduction.
Yep. And I also remember seeing the symbol for Baphomet at a young age, and that totally fascinated me, and does to this day.
Same here, brother.
So that the idea, the word occult means hidden, and this, and through psychedelic use, through Well, I read the Satanic Bible when I believe I was 17. I read it all
Mm,
cover to cover in 3 nights.
wow, that's strange. I
Three
guess
nights.
I thought you was actually like 13 when you read that.
I was either 16 or 17.
Okay.
I was either 16. I mean, I think I had read portions of it.
Then we must have read it around the same time
Yeah.
then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably. So I was about 17 or so when I read it from cover to cover.
I didn't
And
read it cover to cover, but
mm,
I've read like a good chunk of it, like skipping
dude,
through
I've
it.
read the Satanic Bible cover to cover multiple times. Multiple times. But the first time that I read it, it just made me so happy. I can't explain the happiness that LaVey's words filled me
A
with.
comfort and a
It was like
connection,
a
something
connection.
deeper.
Yep, a deep connection, that was unlike the religion that we were brought up with, the religion of Christianity, which I felt no connection with, and felt that most of the
So
people
true.
that I saw all around me practicing it, uh, filled with hypocrisy and filled with self-deceit. Um, and I really do feel that the Satanic Bible acted as um, a boundary dissolution.
No pun intended, an scapegoat.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah.
I feel that it was kind of the initial nuclear bomb that went off in my psyche that just destroyed all previous notions of all previous belief systems that may have been lingering, and it really acted as a emancipator for my mind, and from then I could go forward without the confines and superstitions of religions like Christianity that we were exposed to.
Dude, that's so interesting, man. Another thing we would like to point out is when getting into the occult and practicing even the most like basic level of magic,
Mm-hmm.
it it's so powerful. Like even at this very moment, I can feel like simply talking about it, like I can feel
The
something.
magnetism
Yes,
to it, yeah.
and I feel like I wasn't prepared for that type of feeling
Mm-hmm.
um, whenever I read the Satanic Bible, some of it, the
Yeah.
first time, I was blown away just from the first page.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about that page for months after that.
Yeah.
Just about LaVey talking about when he was 16, he played an organ at a carnival, and he also played an organ on Sundays for like some type of church revival. And he
Yeah.
would see these men on Saturday night lusting
The
after
burlesque dancers.
half naked women. These same gentlemen would be the next day begging mercy for their sins
With their wives
with their
and
wives
kids.
and kids, and then only to be back next Saturday
Yeah.
to do it all over. And I remember that just hit me so strong that Christianity is nothing but hypocrisy.
Right.
And, if you look, throughout history, the real devils, which is Christianity, the things that they have done throughout history,
Right.
the people they had put to death because they didn't want anything to outgrow that
Right.
religion.
Exactly.
And I've just, both of us for that matter, we wanted to, even if it may not make hardly any impact, but at least a little bit, if we're somewhere and get on the conversation, then we would like to talk about this different side of things.
Right.
And the thing that's probably most profound is LaVey talking about if you can take away your ego just enough to say, I'm a Satanist, that, the one that this culture puts down so much. But what is this God without this Satan anyway?
Right. Well, this is where the cosmology of Christianity gets a little confusing and kind of starts to fall apart a little bit. God created Satan, so Satan is a direct product of God, and you could philosophically deduce that he is God in a sense,
I love how he
Or-
said that in one interview.
Right. But but I think what you find in Christianity is a classic, at least the way it's being practiced over the last couple hundred years. Because I think it might have actually meant something different when it was first conceived. We don't have to get into that right now, but
Mhm.
the presentation of Satan as evil, as absolutely irredeemable. I think that's a perfect example of a character inversion. Here you have this God who doesn't have a name, who doesn't have a form. There's no description of his form. There's no real way to relate to him. But we do know that Christianity does not represent a female divinity. Um, Christianity does seem to be a type of male religion, a male ego religion. You know, uh, and LaVey's point with that was that the people that first conceived of this cosmology. So the people that wrote the Bible and conceived of this religion, they were male-dominated people. The time period in which the religion of Christianity uh, arose was a time where the psychedelic uh, plants had been lost. So
It was a weird time,
yeah,
wasn't
right.
it?
And something that psychedelics do is they have a direct effect on the male ego.
I even noticed with the plants that we do
Right.
for these videos or our ceremonies, just kratom and kava,
Right.
they
So
they
the male
present that.
ego was running rampant. This
Yeah.
is my women, my kids.
I mean, I
This
guess they
is
was just sitting around drinking wine by this point,
right.
wouldn't they?
Oh, everybody was going around with an alcohol buzz back then. I mean, that was very
That's
common.
apparent when you read. I mean, the stuff that's in there, what little bit I've read.
And so what you get, is religion, is spirituality filtered through the male dominator ego. And we have millions of fanatical people that still vehemently believe and practice this thing. So, Terrence McKenna also had a big influence on me, and one of his things was you experience, personal experience should be what guides you. I mean, we can't trust anybody else. We don't. You know what I'm saying? We can't. I'm not going to devote my life to things that were written down 2,000 years ago. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to vehemently relent my rational mind to that. Now, dude, I love to read ancient scriptures and
mystical literature.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah.
And I get quite inspired by them, but they have to pass the test. They have to pass the test of, does this resonate with my intuitive heart?
The test is very hard to
discern,
to explain. Like, it just has to resonate with the spirit almost.
Now, Ram Dass talks about this. Ram Dass talked about how, in the West, we have lost touch with that feeling of understanding. Like, he gave the example of how our country is ran by, lawyers and proving things. And there is something to be said about that, about proving things and stuff like that. But that sense of knowing that what someone is telling us, like, you can, if you are mindful, you can feel people's intentions. You can somebody can say something to you and you're like, I believe this guy. This guy's telling the truth to me.
I would like to add something to that really quick. I feel like if you really discipline yourself, and obviously I'm still very, very much in the early stages of trying to learn these things, but I do feel I'm very dedicated to this. And with him, I would think for sure he's with a lot of psilocybin experiences, have obviously seen things more than what I could imagine. And brother, not to start sucking your dick right now, but I mean, I've really been inspired by your experiences, more than you can know, and I've realized probably more recently than ever, when you have these experiences, you just see how depressing the way this world is ran.
I
And
remember a psilocybin, not to cut you off,
no, yes, go
a
ahead, brother.
psilocybin experience I had, one of my early ones, when I looked out the window. I'd been tripping all night, and it was like 7 a.m. It was my birthday, in a matter of
I
fact.
remember.
And I looked out
Break
the
on
window.
through to the other side.
Yes,
We listen to
sir.
that on the come
Yes,
down.
sir. And I looked out the window, and I thought, this earth is ours. Like there's, and I just what came to me in that moment was the ridiculousness of like property.
I
Like
thought
this
of
is
that
my
too.
property. This is my property. Like, the whole earth should
I
be
thought
ours.
of that
I
too.
should just be able to just walk
Man
up.
is the Lord of the earth,
Yes,
as
and
Crowley talks
I just
about.
felt, but that's the boundary dissolution aspect of that. So, yeah, psychedelics can be a portal. These plants can be a portal for allowing us to access um, that astral world or that higher consciousness world. Just to give a quick, you know, we can work with models of how things work without clinging to them vehemently. So a model I like to work with is that, I mean, it does seem to be quite scientific. Our brains, we obviously can't perceive certain senses. We can't see certain colors, hear certain sounds, things of that nature. Now, take this in to mind. Take this into mind. The fact that there has been times in the evolution of species in which we didn't have eyesight. Eyesight developed over time. You know, it went from a single cell organism to and evolved up and up and up. We gained hearing through evolution. So there does seem to be this underlying spirit, which is kind of connected to the will. Which so if you need something, when you need something, a species starts to gain it. And it's this evolution. So there's been times where we didn't have certain senses. Well, in the same way, we are ignorant enough to sit here, humans, and say, "This is all there is." Well, how can you know that? You don't even see all there is to see. This what we perceive is not
It's
reality.
such a stupidity way
It's
to look
it's
at
an
things.
arrogant
It's so despicable.
yes. And so we can assume that our mundane life is all
what it
there
is.
is. So
Exactly.
so just that alone, our brains are like virtual reality goggles that so what we experience as reality filtered through the neurology of a primate, of a highly evolved primate. So when you take these compounds, these psychedelic compounds, that limitation of perception expands greatly, and you see beings, and you get messages, and you get insight into the future, insight into the past, insight into other planets, things of that nature.
The truth of the matter is, we're just going to say a few things while we're on the subject. Whether we have 2 people who view this video or 2 million people who
Really
view this
doesn't matter.
video, it really doesn't matter. We really want to stress what truths has been revealed to us with the practices.
What convictions we have.
And let's, what's going on here for the most part is brainwashing, whether it's with Christianity or what culture, capitalism is trying to. People does not question things that they do every day.
People must learn to use their minds and take it back. People need to take back their minds
and not take back the country in this stupid, retarded, redneck way of you can't take my guns away. What does that even mean?
Americans, we're essentially fucking demons.
Okay.
We live like demons. We rape the earth. We know the damage that plastic is having on our bodies. We know the damage that we're causing to the environment every day through the pollution, and we're doing nothing about it because people are making money.
The people who point at things such as cannabis or kava and trying to find something that's
Negative.
health risk and negative
Right.
about it are the same people like Donald Trump going through McDonald's 3 times a day and eating
Yep.
whatever Big
If
Macs.
he wasn't drinking adrenochrome every day, if he wasn't drinking child blood every day, he'd
Exactly.
probably. That's a conspiracy theory. I'm half joking about that, but it honestly
It
would
wouldn't
not surprise
surprise us
me.
for
Oh
sure.
my god! Not to get off on too
Yes.
much of a
Go
tangent. There
ahead,
was an
brother.
actress, or I think she was an actress. She
Hmm.
was on the Ellen show. I
Hmm.
gotta show you this lady.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's so creepy. It just came to me, and she says
I didn't know the Ellen Show was even a thing
it's
anymore.
not. This was
Oh,
an
I'll
old
know it when
video.
I see
Yeah,
it.
but I don't think it is, at least. But um, Ellen had this lady on there that I think was an actress or a singer, and she was commenting on, I think, her face, and saying like, "Wow, like you look so young." And she said, "Yeah, I have this procedure done from time to time." And Ellen said, well, "What's the procedure?" And she said, "Oh well, it's I forget the term. There's a medical thing that you can do using like needles, just kind of like acupuncture or something to your face." But she said it's kind of like that. She gave that term, and she said, but she was really reluctant. She said, and we
Strange.
use. She said this. We use the fetal tissue from babies. And she said, "Whoa!" And she said,
Oh,
and you know what the actress said? She said, "Don't worry. This is children like far away." As if that's better. These are
okay.
these are Korean fetal tissue. So that is a fact. The elites, the people that have a lot of money, people that are higher in the hierarchy of, which is all bullshit, obviously, but there is a hierarchy of classes, and the people that are on the top of that, they are completely raping um, children, metaphorically and literally.
Dude, as crazy as that is, I know it's still, for some reason, not too surprising.
Yeah.
You know, people, they live as though this is it. And, getting into the occult, um, deep research into magic with a K,
Yes, sir.
has,
We'll break down some magical processes if you'd like.
that would be great, completely changed, the way both of us have looked at things. We see what's actually real. And the reason that this country, we do know, has over the years um,
Disintegrated.
condemned magic
Yes.
and these plants and these
Any
experiences
any practice, our country has rejected and forbidden
to
as
keep
taboos
people
to keep
in the
people
dark.
from, yeah, to keep people in the dark, to keep people from veering away from the established view that they project, because that established view that they project is keeping people um, sedated, keeping people in states of uh, lethargy and comfort, so that they don't veer away.
That
Don't mess with your minds.
it's strange how one gets to certain points and then you look ahead and you're ready to get to other points, but you just kind of wake up one day and think, what is all of this that I
Right.
do each day?
Yeah.
And everybody talks about how important all these things are, and when it really hits you like that, you start to do a lot of research on
Hmm.
many different things.
Because there's been people wiser than us for centuries, for millennia, contemplating these things, recording these things,
Hmm.
recording their experiences and of their exploration into these things, and we can learn from the greats and apply them and do searching ourselves.
Because the truth is, if we're not, um, wow, dude, I just had a different type of deja vu.
Oh my god! You
Oh
do this
God,
every time.
this has happened, and it could, and I'll prove to you that it's not something we done last week. I had deja vu of something I just said.
Yeah.
and about the situation that happened the other day.
Wow. Well,
And I
and we know for a fact that that doesn't happen all the
I
time.
remember you saying that.
Wow. Dude,
It's
that's what's so
so
creepy when I have deja vu. Is
I have
it's
proof.
it's so stunning because
Oh
not
God,
like you'll get the feeling of it, and then you're like, oh my god, I'm having
shit!
deja vu.
This is the scariest one I've ever gotten.
I believe you, but when I get it, that'll happen to me, and then wherever I'm
Shit.
at, having the deja vu, the stuff afterwards, like for the next like
Happens.
10 seconds,
You are so.
I'm like, oh
right.
my god, this happened. I know for a fact because you said that right after I had the deja
I
vu.
know you did, and I thought to myself, I knew this couldn't have because something
Yep.
has recently happened.
Right, that is
That-
pretty monumental.
Exactly.
That it doesn't happen all the time.
And that came to my mind. How fucking weird. Deja vu is just another thing that I think that can show us just how unreal this place is. And it's I've been thinking of this a lot. Terrence McKenna's quote, the world is much stranger than we can suppose.
Brother, I was about to say that as soon as you stopped talking. The quote is, he's quoting someone else, but the quote he always brings up is, the world is not only stranger than we suppose, it is stranger than we can suppose. And if you've ever taken 5 dried grams in silent darkness, you know that it is stranger than you can ever apprehend.
Another thing with psychedelics or any of these really holy plants is, we both feel that it speeds up the process if you're into the occult or magic. But it's strange because a lot of people, especially now, usually are either one or the other. Like, you take somebody like on a YouTube channel that's been out for many years, Psych Substance, Adam has had many like acid experiences and many other psychedelic experiences, but to my knowledge, he's never been a part of studying the occult or has done any type of magic. And then you have people who are practicing magic and, getting many truths revealed to them. But it seems like a lot of people don't really do both of them together. Obviously, Crowley did.
Yes.
But it really does seem that.
That's so fascinating to me. When I found out that Crowley was
Also
so
like
deep in the, he was one of the pioneers for psychedelic spirituality. He realized from a very, very old time period that these plants and the compounds that they possess are direct gateways to the spiritual dimension that he was contacting in his magic.
It's like they all have different personalities.
Mm-hmm.
It's really strange, and there's this type of euphoria that you get. Just say you're reading some. I keep using these terms, but ancient cult literature. If you actually compare that with some of these plants, say like kava, like the outcome to that is so surreal. Like I can't put into words.
Yeah.
And I think right after, I feel like the Anton LaVey's book, the Satanic Bible, like was such a revelation for me as well. And even before that, I didn't know much about the occult, but like you, I was just always fascinated with that term in particular, and fascinated with the term mystic or mystical.
And we both, I think, had a conviction that the belief system that was popular in our particular geographical area was full of self-deceit, full of self-righteousness, and full of hypocrisy.
Yeah.
So, Satanism, Satan as a god, is kind of the part of divinity that just smashes into oblivion all falsehoods.
Yeah, man. Sometimes it can get so frustrating. You're like, there's certain things that seem so plain, but just so many people just can't see this. And
Mind
it
viruses,
it is, and it could almost seem like that alone is like some type of hell realm.
right?
Just not being able,
To see,
just like that's so insane to me
just
because
walking
it's
around in a
oh
complete
not
ignorance.
not to go off what I was going to say, but um I was behind this guy the other day who he had his window rolled down. He had music up really loud, and he just ridiculously, in the most ridiculous fashion, spun out and was just screaming at the top of his lungs. And I can't describe what he looks like because I literally pictured him being a monkey. And I just thought, whose idea was it to give monkeys automobiles
Exactly.
to start driving around
Oh.
in? Just getting in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And these kind of thoughts on these
Yeah.
things, I don't
People
think would
don't-
be possible without the
People
occult.
don't realize where we came from.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, the study of phylogeny, science. Science is, dude, the stuff that our the brilliant scientific minds of our past, what they revealed about the astronomy, about electricity, all these things were magic that just hadn't been given language yet. And just in the same way, the energy that the witches yield, that is scientific. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing really like that is you're using energy that exists. You're contacting things that exist. It's actually really nothing supernatural about it. It's really natural all the way
Right.
around. It's just that
Right.
we haven't really been able to clearly define these things because they're unseen. They're not currently in our evolutionary state. We're not able to see them unless we're, with the aid of a plant or something. So, magic is always science.
Yeah, and the mystic and the magician is always many steps ahead
Many
of the
steps ahead.
scientist,
Yes, sir.
or anybody else for that matter. But I kind of stopped there with the LeVay's work, like jumped around on different chapters, having many revelations, and kind of kept that kind of like you did too, like the base of what like I would want to learn next.
Mm-hmm.
But fast forward many years later, right now in particular, dude, I'm just so fascinated with these ancient alchemy signs, and this could also tie into what what's his name, Carl Jung talked about with the synchronicities.
Yeah.
It seems like all of these go around with each other.
Right.
But I told you a little bit of this. I had this revelation the other day where I did a ceremony and just looked into the mirror, and I just kind of pictured this infinite tunnel, and like around this tunnel was those symbols that you would see like in John Dee's work, in Crowley's work, and I just had this thought, this like revelation of, man, like I feel at some point, way many years ago, another life, we was just like those guys. We was
right.
working in what McKenna talked about being an alchemy lab.
Right.
And it opens doors. First
Right.
of all, what occultism does, and any magical practice, it just opens an infinite amount of doors that so much can be explored with.
Right.
Because it helps you completely break away from what this is.
Now the Baphomet, that is a alchemical symbol. On one arm you have solve, the other coagula, which are, I believe, Latin terms. They're alchemical terms, and it's talking about going from a base state to a higher state, and that your life is an opportunity to alchemize your base state into a higher state, into a divine state, into a state of freedom and enlightenment.
Love that. You're like solving
Right.
this mystery
Right.
to get to that
Yeah.
higher state.
Now, I think that we should talk about symbols because symbols are very important in magic and in alchemy and the occult. And you should kind of start to investigate the symbols that are that you're naturally drawn to, because I think that if you can free yourself enough to start to look at these things with an open mind and study the things that you're drawn to, that can kind of be
Mm-hmm.
perhaps your higher self kind of manifesting, or your something to do with your intuitive heart that's kind of connected to your higher self, that's uh, that's above your egoic self, the self that people tell you you are, the people that think, the person that you think you are. You must, so the dissolution of the egoic self and the transcendence into the higher self, that's what we're aiming for. Then we can do real magic. But the importance of symbols is, um, you know, uh, witchcraft is all about sympathetic magic. It's about, certain plants have certain properties. And if you're wanting to draw in a certain spirit or a certain force or a certain deity, that deity might have certain associations with it, such as a certain plant or a certain color. So you'll have this in your space or at your altar, and then call upon it. So you're creating links, through objects and through natural objects, um, and in plant healing and stuff like that. Not only just consuming healing plants, but any plant, has a certain vibratory
Mm-hmm.
quality, has a certain frequency, has a certain quality. And the ancients, the witches, the pagans, they studied these things and they kind of developed this idea of the qualities of certain plants and colors and planets and things like that. So yeah, you should look into the things, the symbols that you're drawn to, and and do a bit of introspection to see where, uh, what aspect of divinity do you feel most drawn to, and work with that. You know.
I love how you explained that, man, because I was having the revelation on these symbols the other day, and I was just thinking, how am I going to explain these to you? Like, that way I could put the point across how deep of a revelation this was. But, in a lot of books, people in the occult talk about, everybody's drawn to like different alchemy symbols, or are you attracted to the sun or the moon, like that book,
Nocturnal witchcraft.
Nocturnal Witchcraft? And we talked about this book a little bit last time we was together, and we both feel that we can relate to the night
Right.
better than the day. I've like always felt better for some
Mm-hmm.
reason at nighttime,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like that's where most of the revelations come from.
And divinity, you know, can manifest in any way it wants. It's the infinite. The infinite is all things. It's not just the light things, it's also the dark things. The infinite is not only the constructive aspect of the universe, but it's also the destructive aspect of the universe. And this is something that's been lost, I think, in Christianity, where they perceive their God as the one who creates, the one who's does only good, and that Satan is the aspect. Well, they don't even consider Satan an aspect of divinity, which is kind of absurd. But and they consider Satan as completely evil, and that Satan is responsible for our sinful impulses, which you know are those impulses that are considered sinful in their religion are biological. That means they came directly from the creation of God, which is kind of hypocritical too. Like why would I have these impulses for,
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of indulgence too, and we may have touched on this before. Satanism, Satanists are all about enjoying life to the fullest, uh, living as honestly as possible. When we make a mistake, we acknowledge it and we make the best effort to correct them. We don't pray to God
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
save us. We don't need salvation.
Mm-hmm.
The salvation lies in our hands. And Satan, a lot of people get the idea that Satanism is just unrestrained hedonism. That's not at all what it is. you know.
Just do whatever the self-destructive thing you want to do and maximize it.
Right.
And LaVey was a perfect example that we are not about
No,
self-destruction.
he brought up the term of vital existence. You know, that's what we're aiming for, vital existence. And one of my favorite lines in the Satanic Bible, he says, "Too long have we allowed the dead hand to sterilize living thought." I love
That
this
is
so
so
much. Too
true.
long
We
have we permitted the dead hand to sterilize living thought. And we live in this
Love that
sanitized
so very much.
society that tries to separate ourselves and cast this illusion that we are not part of nature. We are a direct part of nature. We are one with the entire universe, as Crowley says in the Magic and Theory and Practice. He says, you know, we are connected to the remotest galaxies. You know,
You know when
and that's another thing. How can a magician affect change on the world? Is because we are the world. We are just this manifestation, and we're getting confused that we're just this. No, we're the whole thing.
You know, there's this line in one of our favorite Electric Wizard songs called, it was the name of the song is Return Trip. And, you know, a lot of the lyrics is talking about, you know, it deals with death, kind of being reborn, entering this game again, like reincarnation. I am a god, and like everything is right here in front of us, but we're blinded, we can't see it.
Right.
And, you know, with magic, when you get into it, it's strange because a lot of these questions that you have just by a lot of deep studying, all of these, or at least a lot of these things, and eventually most of these things will kind of start to resolve. The thing with alchemy is the kind of thing that I'm going to study now is like the different symbols for each day of the month, and you know, the characteristics of is it astrology?
Astrology, yes.
Astrology, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I kind of feel like that's a base to go with, but a lot of people just. I've recently had this revelation. We don't have. A lot of people have everyone like every month's got this positive and negative, you know, habits that they get themselves into, most likely. But that's really a strange thing, and I've recently just kind of thought about this more. I just want to see what you thought about this. Kind of a separate question from this, but I guess technically it's still in the category. Do you think by getting into this deeper, a lot of people read their whatever there is,
The palm.
yeah, and they do all these things, they accept it, and they never do anything about it.
Right.
And like LaVey talks about, honestly, what this is laziness.
Right.
Which, now let's real quick state what we mean by laziness. Not the type of laziness is that he's not working at his job hard enough. Laziness is not understanding the power that we can already tap into to adjust certain things in our life that we don't like.
Yes. Now, obviously, these are things that we go into these different ideas using our intuitive heart to guide us, and astrology. You know, the idea that depending on the configuration of the planets and the cosmos at the time of our birth, affects our certain core qualities about us, and I would say that that's quite possible, you know. But people use it as an excuse for bad behavior. You know, they'll say, "Oh, I'm sorry, you know, I'm an Aquarius, you know, it's just what we do." It's like, no, you know, this gives, if the idea of astrology is indeed true, then you have certain advantages and certain disadvantages. But those disadvantages you can work through, you can overcome them, you know, you can allow your will to sort of transcend, you know, those qualities, you know. So yeah, people are lazy about it, and they don't put in the effort to overcome those negative qualities.
You know, it also seems that magic and alchemy You're putting a lot of things together that you're really drawn to. Just say you're drawn to certain alchemy signs and you're still not sure exactly what these particular signs are. You write them down. You're listening to something that really like resonates with your spirit.
Mm.
You're meditating maybe over pictures of teachers, whether um, gods or people who has walked the earth in the form of man. You know that does something to get you out of this rut somehow.
Yeah.
Like, I've recently realized that I was actually looking at some pictures, kind of going Crowley and Dolly, LaVey, Man Ray, just so many. A lot of these people have
Great
been
minds that's
dead for so
come
many
and
years.
gone, yeah.
And man, oh, and with I'm not even sure what this alchemy sign is, but it kind of looks like um, it looks like one of those candle chandeliers that people used like in the medieval times. I know you know which one I'm talking about. There's like three triangles, and then you have like the lines underneath that,
Yeah, yeah.
and then you have like that on the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it knows.
I don't know what it is. Maybe we should look what the meaning of that actually is, but I'd write it down a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I'm, doing like a little bit of a meditation or whatever, maybe some electric wizard on in the background, it seems to, no matter what kind of circumstances going on, to like lift you up out of that.
Well, that's the thing. When I think of alchemy, I think of, bringing in an ingredient or multiple ingredients into the system of your body. So if I am, doom scrolling on TikTok, drinking a Coke, eating a bag of chips, laying in bed, after just working 10 hours at my meaningless job, maybe drinking some beer, so that's all alchemical ingredients that you're putting into your alchemical vessel. You can think of your body as an alchemical vessel. So, psychedelics are, so your body, your neurology, your understanding of the universe, plus 5 dry grams of psilocybin. See what happens. Let's mix it up in this vessel and see what comes of it. And if you're well prepared, if you are well aware of yourself and have taken care of the things you need to take care of, and are honestly studying these things and going forward into your life, applying your accumulated understandings of things through the investigation of reality, through magic, through psychedelics, then you can, sort of catalyze your progress. So we got to be good managers of our alchemical vessel. We got to be careful about the types of things we're putting into it, whether physically or through media. And then, I talk about casting a circle, and this is
talk about that
this
next.
this is a integral part of magic, which is the idea that there are all kinds of energies all around us all the time that we cannot see. You can, and I think a kind of a facile proof of this is when you're around someone that's a negative person, and it immediately makes you down. You could be in a good mood and then get around this person, and you just immediately it brings you down. I think that's kind of the same thing. Like there's all kinds of energies that are around us and works through us, and perhaps even embodied energies, spirits that are affecting us. So a witch or a magician would cast a circle, separate themselves from their environment, create their own sacred space by calling upon the elementals of earth and air and fire and water. That circle being held together by the underlying principle of the universe, which is spirit, uh, and cleanse a space for you to meditate, for you to do workings, for you to divine, because there is so much that is interfering. So when you create a space like that, a sacred space that you devote to the higher one, then you have a clean space to study and to do your workings.
I'm glad you brought that up, man, because the last time we got together, I mean, I've heard of casting a circle. That's the term, right? I've heard of that term so much, like throughout my studies, especially the last couple of years. And he's talked about the feeling that you have when you do it.
Definitely feel it.
And it wasn't actually until last time we was together I actually learned the exact process on how to do it.
And
I
like
didn't know
I
it
talked about
before.
earlier, the like attracts like concept in magic, which is, if you're wanting to call upon the forces of earth, the elemental spirits of earth, you will have some form of earth there
Yeah.
at the north of your altar to represent that force in which you're trying to call forth. And so you will use correspondences to conjure those forces forth.
Something I'm very interested in is, casting this circle, and we talked about this last week, and just creating this sacred place and just like studying and meditating and that with that kind of environment.
If you just do that as much as possible,
yeah,
that is amazing. And then as you go on, you can start to do rituals that you may have found in literature that seem interesting from valid people. Certain uh, things that will help you cross the abyss or contact your higher self. You can work with deities and you can have gnosis, which is kind of like a transmutation of knowledge from a higher being to you by invoking them. And you can't do that it's not going to be as effective in just an open environment.
In 1898, whenever Crowley first joined the Golden Dawn, a lot of, he was maybe like his early 20s by this point. A lot of magicians there, they thought he was too risky in the kind of magic that he did, and like had some disagreements with a lot of people there. They thought he was, I'm trying to think the way I read this. He put himself out there too much and got himself into things that they thought was too deep to get into.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting because, granted, it's always good to look at different risks, but depending on what it is, though, why not? Even me, like with everything, I feel like I'm really over evaluate, over cautious about everything, no matter what it is. In a way, that's good, but in a way, it's also bad. Thankfully, I'm starting to kind of get out of that a little bit recently. But
the thing is, like we've stated before, we're not realized beings. We're not enlightened. We do feel that we might be in that stage of our development as spiritual beings in a physical body, and that our karma thus far has propelled us to this point that we may be in fact starting to cross the abyss, starting to do the real work of life and understanding and liberating ourselves and stop going round and round on this infinite loop to nowhere,
a road to nowhere, my friend. I had this revelation the last time we was together. And this is probably a very unconventional way to look at this because we read about the people, speaking of the Golden Dawn, that they have these temples just for ceremonial magic. So most like you don't even have to go in there, open up a circle to
Right.
purify the space. It's like
It's already
it's
consecrated. Yeah, it's a place devoted to uh, contact with the higher one.
and that got me thinking the other day. I kind of feel like even though I haven't consciously opened a circle yet up until this point, I kind of feel like maybe the circle has been opened up in certain circumstances, whether it's something maybe very holy or sacred that's playing, or but it only happens, it seems like, whenever me and you get together and do these ceremonies,
Yeah.
conversations, like stop something just right set up.
Right.
Like I had that experience. I'm kind of having it now. Definitely did. Like I've done this, a decent amount of times. I wonder if there's still other ways, depending on what you're
Probably.
talking about. Man, I'm glad I remembered this. I really do feel it a lot on a lot of our conversations. Like I said, I feel it now.
Yeah.
Um, I just think it maybe depending on what you're talking about, or you know, there's a big difference in truly doing everything in your power to go about the great work, or um, what's the term that you always use? I love it. We're more concerned with the looks of the tail feather
Yeah.
of doing the great work.
And that's a trap in its own.
Dude, I really do think, man, if you create sometimes a sacred enough space, it's kind of like you just feel that spiritual
Yeah, you
presence.
do.
It's like I'm telling you, man, I always feel this, and I don't know how to explain. I know you feel it too, but I just wonder, you know, opening up a circle with that already,
Right.
you'd be high. I feel
Totally.
like.
Yeah, when doing rituals, you're altering your consciousness. You're as what you're doing, you're altering your consciousness so that you can be more receptive to the the transmissions that you receive, and to the subtle insights that you may receive in this space. You're creating a little portal for yourself, for the spiritual world to contact you.
There's so many different levels, and there's so many different paths that one could take when they're getting into the occult. You know, I think both of us do, like, consider mysticism to be in
The main
yeah,
goal to all of this,
maybe the most important.
Well, I feel like mysticism is, the exploration of the metaphysical realities that we contact during psychedelic experience, that we contact in strange bursts of insight in our lives. Mysticism, I think, is searching for ultimate liberation from our physical form, and magic is a catalyst to mysticism.
Another very interesting thing about magic or the occult to bring up is, starting off with regular meditation. I've talked about this part before, but I feel like I've never had the urge to do the kind of classic, obvious way of meditation. But I do consider things that I've did like a type of meditation that it seems to be different each time. But one looks at meditation, and that could LaVey done this a lot. It can go to this type of deep, like extremely deep, almost like leaving your body sensation, astral projecting. Oh God, like that's another thing I've been so obsessed with recently. Like
Samadhi state.
yeah, like that's what the Eastern mystics talk about that
Mhm.
state, right? I mean, this is the. I mean, I don't know how similar the Eastern mystics version, like how they really word it, but LaVey talked about like you leave this body, um, you have an out of body experience, and you're just flying through the cosmos,
Yeah.
flying through the galaxies, and then there's this deep concentration to get yourself back, and you feel like 100% renewed in
Ram
every
Dass
way.
talked about it, and he said that
Samadhi state. That's so
he
interesting.
experienced this stuff, and there's the raising of Kundalini.
Did he himself go into these states?
I'm not sure about Samadhi, but he did have some insane like astral projection experiences.
Samadhi's the highest level. Of
Yeah,
astral
Samadhi is
projection,
when your
right?
heart stops beating.
Oh my
and
god!
you stop breathing.
Oh, LaVey didn't get to that point,
Right.
but
they,
I didn't know that was a term for it.
There's a lot of people out there that seem to have like a natural.
Drawn to that, being able
Not
to do
even
that.
drawn, but they have like a natural ability to like lucid dream. People that are lucid dreamers tend to be they have an easier time astral projecting.
And we have had lucid. Both of us have had lucid dreams before.
Definitely, but Ram Dass talked about how he would do this form of meditation, and in Hinduism they have this idea of Kundalini, which is a serpent that is coiled at the bottom of your spine. And that most people don't know how to raise that energy up, and it comes up the spine. He said that when you feel that energy come up your spine, it is appalling. It is appalling. It's not like a little tingle, it's like jolting. It's so obvious.
What are the steps to take to get to that? Like, how
we'll have to investigate this and study it further. I'm not
I'd like to do that.
certain
today,
breathing
actually.
techniques. Yeah, it
That would
would
be
take some. It would
amazing.
take some practice, but we can definitely do some research on this.
Wow.
And I would love to, and will soon.
That sounds very interesting.
But he said that it's so interesting, and I'll try to word this correctly. He said that when you would go to these Kundalini states, he said that he would like start to leave his body. And he would like be experiencing complete nirvana, complete bliss. And he said as soon as he said to himself, "Wow, this feels good," back down.
I can totally relate to that.
Yep. He says like you have to completely just like let go of who you are.
That is so fucking true, because
Yeah.
just a couple weeks ago I had this kratom experience.
Or if you say I don't want to go back, so you're back.
Oh my god, I stopped what I was doing. I was getting ready to text you the truths that have been revealed.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I can't explain.
Mhm.
I was listening to Return Trip in the background while just doing amazing research on the occult, and so many greats. And I can't remember what it was that came to me.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like I just should have waited till that
Mhm.
passed. But I interrupted that revelation just to hurry up and tell you about it.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember what I was going to tell you.
Oh my gosh, that's another interesting thing. I feel like a lot of free minds or people that are consciously trying to contact, the higher self or God or the divine, is that when the free mind does this, I mean, from my experience, like I will get those just flashes of insight, and it blows me away. I'm like, wow, that is so interesting. That makes so much sense, and then it's gone. It's like you just like for a split second was able to perceive some hyperdimensional information, but it's just so hard to get a grip on.
Man,
And I'm not
so-
sure what the best way to get a grip on it
Yeah.
is. It's just something we have to keep practicing. And
Even with alchemy recently, I've had such revelations with it, but it's like this deep thought visual type thing that
Right.
I don't know exactly how to talk about
Yeah.
it. But man, I guess you can call it really deep form of daydreaming.
Right.
And I've been having that so much recently. Just
Mhm.
take some time to focus on the only important thing that there is.
Right. And dude, the world is made out of language. The world is made out of mind, not of matter. In a sense. And I find that whenever you lean in to a certain idea, for example, I'm always tired. As soon as you lean into the idea that you're always tired, you're going to be always tired. If you lean into the idea, I do not have to be a part of this culture. I can be whatever I want to be. There is no limits.
That's true freedom.
You know what I'm saying? Like you have to be aware of what you tell yourself in your head,
That is such a
because
great
that's
point.
what you'll be. I've
is
noticed that in
such
myself.
a fucking great point,
Yeah.
man. I could not.
That is magic in itself. You know, magic is
Many things.
directing your prana towards something. And if your prana, you know, energy goes where attention, or energy flows where attention goes. And if you're, you know, we got to be aware and conscious at how we're directing our attention. And I think ultimately, you know, we want to direct our attention uh, into things of love, you know, like, and if we want to have a positive impact, that doesn't mean to neglect the dark side of things, because it has beauty to it, and it also has, uh, you know, there's the corrupt dark too, which is kind of seems to be wielded by the elites of the world. You know, they are an example of the evil dark. You know, dark is not essentially evil, but it can be used in the evil way. So, you know, we want to direct our consciousness and our prana and contact people with love and with openness, and, you know, and with the intent to relieve suffering, you know, that needs relieved. You know, I think that's what kind of the idea of Buddhism is about, and in some certain parts of Hinduism. I think that's beautiful. And then the magical aspect, which is direct your prana, you know, in an astral sense to things that you want to manifest that will help you attain a state of freedom spiritually, you know.
Dude, beautifully said, brother, man. I believe for this church service, I've said everything I want to say, but if you want to touch on some more things, my great man, you do what the Baphomet tells you to do while he smiles upon you. That's sinister.
Yeah. No, I think
this, yes, the goat god, come forth with enlightenment.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I hope everyone who may watch this has a amazing rest of your day and seeks to expand your consciousness in every way you can and be a aperture for higher consciousness to flow through, and I hope that everyone that you contact will be moved and altered by this higher consciousness that you exhibit in your day-to-day lives. Keep doing the great work, and everything's going to be okay. This world is not to be held on too tightly. It can vanish in any moment.
Look at this world as laid back as you possibly can without getting so hung up on every little thing, because even though bad things happen to everybody, at the end of the day they don't matter. They can be uncomfortable and they can be stressful, but you know, like he mentioned earlier, feeding this energy is only going to make it worse.
Yes.
There comes a point you just have to let these things go. Take some plants. What does Tim Leary say? Tune in.
Tune in. Drop out. Tune in. Tune in, drop out, and something else.
Yeah.
Tune in,
drop out's the main.
Yeah,
drop out of this reality.
Exactly.
And enter the truth.
Yeah.
And once you consciously decide to start walking toward that truth and drop everything culture and capitalism has to offer, then things will be revealed.
For sure. All right. Live in the mystery. Hare Krishna. We will see you soon.
Yes, soon.